We've been inviting different guests in this week to talk about all kinds of things from the environment to what's going on in the world, how to take care of our world. And we regularly have a guest. Ron Martin is here, and he's just going to tell us a whole bunch of things that are going on that we should know about. Am I right?
That's right.
You were talking about evangelical environmentalists?
Well, our group is called the Evangelical Climate Change Network. It's just a small committee, and it's formed of members of the Citizens Climate Lobby and a few members from the Sierra Club. And we know that there's a lot of climate change denial among evangelicals.
Yes.
And we thought if we could just reach out to evangelicals, maybe we could make more progress in fighting climate change. And there is a prominent scholar who's touring the nation, speaking to people, evangelicals. She's Catherine Hayhoe, the chairman of the Department of Atmospheric Sciences at Texas Tech University. And her husband is an evangelical pastor.
Okay. And say her name one more time. Catherine?
Catherine Hayhoe.
And she would appeal or is able to communicate with the evangelicals?
That's right. She can quote scripture and explain from the Bible that we need to fight climate change. And we wanted to book her this year, but her schedule is so full that it would probably be next year.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's a problem with COVID-19. Where would we have it? Maybe next year it'll be a better time anyway. We thought about a video presentation, that too. We need to do some fundraising for that. So we hope she can get through to evangelicals and show them that, one, climate change is a problem. The climate is changing, and we can do and we should do something about it. We did discover an opposing group on the other side of climate change, the Cornwall Alliance.
Okay.
They say that evangelicals should forget about climate change. It's not a problem. In fact, if you concern yourself with climate change, you're probably just getting sucked in to a pagan way of looking at the world that has nothing to do with the Christian faith, turning the earth into a religion, and that they want power. The only way to get off of fossil fuels is not to have a world government. We already have that with the World Trade Association. But the climate change people aren't asking for world government. We've got plenty of world centralized power.
Yeah.
So we can deal with it as nations get together, the European Union, the United Nations, and so forth. The important thing is to realize it's a problem and realize we got to get moving on it fast.
Well, now, here's some perspective I've had is that world's been here thousands or millions or billions of years.
4.5 billion years.
Yeah. And in my lifetime, in your lifetime, all these things have happened in this short, teeny little period.
Yes.
There isn't even a speck of dust on the timeline.
Exactly.
You know, from microwaves to cell phones to computers. When I was in college, there's no computers.
Yeah.
And now all this stuff is prevalent everywhere. So to think that we're not going to cause some giant change in something, when you went from zero electricity running on power lines throughout the world, I mean, there was zero, and then all of a sudden in the 20th century, mostly the second half of the 20th century, all these things just have come up. So,
yeah, and it's true that a lot of them have been enabled by the use of fossil fuel. It's a tremendous source of energy, lots of energy in a small package of a gallon of gasoline or so forth. But this can be a bridge fuel to the new sustainable forms of energy, electricity, solar panels, wind, and so forth. And we're really changing the planet. So many people all over the world are driving cars, using power from fossil fuel powered power plants, and we're drilling millions of gallons of oil and burning it daily. I believe in California it's 150 million gallons of gasoline that are purchased every day and burned. Now, you think we're going to do that and not have some effect on the planet and the atmosphere?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, millions of years without it. Now all of a sudden 50, 60, 80 years with this constant flow. So
that's right. And the climate change deniers say, well, there's been a change in temperature before. It's gotten cold, it's gotten warm. But generally, it's taken on the span of maybe 10,000 years.
10,000 years, yeah. And we're done in 50, 60, 80 years.
Right.
So. Yeah, I'm not a big environmentalist or a denier either way. I'm just get up in the day and play my guitar and watch some news, and I'm not thinking about it. But there are people thinking about it and studying it, and I commend you for what you're doing. Just let's get people talking about it.
We need to talk about it. We need to be aware that this is the crisis of our time. Mm-hmm. This is the big problem we've got to face. I think we can do it. People are afraid, like President Trump said, it'll cost billions and trillions of dollars to make a switch from fossil fuel to sustainable fuels. But if he thinks that's expensive, imagine how expensive it's going to be to deal with a changed climate. In fact, there's not enough money to deal with it. It's going to be such a horrible change. So it's something we have to look at. The window of something to do about it is small, but many, many people are thinking about it. The Sierra Club has pretty much devoted itself to arousing the people to do something about climate change. Now, John Muir founded the Sierra Club. He wanted to preserve wilderness. But we realize if we want to preserve wilderness, we've got to preserve the planet and the atmosphere. Otherwise, wilderness and everything else will roast.
Yep. Fascinating. Now, and I'm not pitching this as any kind of perspective. It's just that my mind just thinks and thinks and thinks, and where'd all that fossil fuel come from, and why is it there? That we come along, we harvest it, and wow, that's useful.
Well, some people think it's from dinosaurs, but it was from the age of the dinosaurs, when most of the plants on the earth were ferns, and all these plants fell into bodies of water. They deteriorated, and it's organic material, and it became petroleum and coal and natural gas. It's been gathering there for millions of years, waiting there for us to discover it, and James Watt to discover the steam engine that made mining possible. And we discovered what a wonderful fuel it is. From the evangelical perspective, we could say that God put it there. God planned to have it there, and he knew that we would burn it for a fuel. He also knew what would happen if we don't realize what the effects are. I heard a secular speaker on the radio say that what's going to happen in climate change is like a nature walk through the book of Revelation. It's in there. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
So what will happen as a result of climate change is there, and we're going to bring it on. And if we bring it on, that's sinful. We're called to cease from sin. Why should we commit this sin to destroy God's creation now? Right. Let's let the future generations do it.
Yeah. Now, I just finished reading a book on Elon Musk, his process of developing these batteries and stuff. Are the batteries themselves going to hurt our environment?
Well, that's an interesting question. Some people have said that just manufacturing solar panels creates pollution and so forth. That's something we have to watch it for and think about. Maybe the batteries would create a problem, but there are different ways to store energy. Batteries aren't the only way. We'll probably be very reliant on batteries for our electric cars. Yeah. The batteries last a certain amount of time. When they don't hold enough power to run an electric car, they can be piled up in huge piles to store energy for the grid.
There you go.
So,
not efficient enough for the run a car, but you could.
Yes.
Storage for the grid.
If you don't have to move them around, they can be some efficiency.
Well, I'll tell you what I discovered is about a year or 2 years ago, I was carless, and I found I could function just fine without a car. And I centered my life around this one little neighborhood here in the Tower District, and everything I want to do is right here. And just the idea of pumping that gas in there and driving across town, to save 20 cents on a can of tuna or something, just didn't make sense to me anymore. So I think this.
Well, that's marvelous.
Yeah, this reliance on the car thing is just amazing. So.
Yeah, I don't have a car either.
But part of it is maybe building our communities like the community I live in, where there is the store and the entertainment and food and everything I need. So
that's right. Now, so many cities have been built around the automobile, but we don't have to keep it that way. We can build it around the bicycle or walking.
Yeah, or walking. Yeah, and maybe it's harder to do stuff with all the stuff that's already been built. But from now on, everything that's newly built, I hope they're having that in mind. So. keeping that in mind.
Well, we're always changing, we're always building, rebuilding, and we can adapt, I believe, and it'll take some sacrifices, but these are sacrifices that we can make.
Yeah. Ron, we're running out of time. Where can somebody go for more resources? Or you say you have an organization, or you participate in an organization?
It's a small committee. Just call me if you want to get in on our Zoom meetings. My phone number is 559-222-5524. But mainly, we're a planning committee, planning to bring Catherine Hayhoe to town. Get involved in the Sierra Club.
Mm-hmm.
If you attend church, talk to your fellow church members. Ask them what they think about climate change, and let them know that God is calling us to preserve His creation. And we need to do that as a nation and stop burning fossil fuels.
God is calling us to preserve His creation.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, and I always say there's nothing wrong with talking or listening to different points of view. So this speaker you're talking about is fascinating. It could appeal to different segments. And
Well, yes, she's a professor of science, of atmospheric sciences. You don't have to wait till we bring her to town and we get a whole bunch of people together. You can watch her now on YouTube, on her YouTube channel, Global Weirding, it's called. And they're delightful little videos she has with good graphics and charts and so forth. She's a teacher. She does a good job.
Global Weirding.
Yeah.
I like that, YouTube. Ron, I appreciate you coming. Any last thoughts for our guests or viewers?
Well, attend church on Zoom and talk it up among your fellow church members. And it is true that one of the best things we can do to preserve our planet is to get a different president.
There you go. I didn't say it. He did it. Yeah. I'm neutral. I have to be neutral. Newsmakers are pretty neutral. We have everybody from every point of view, and we appreciate your point of view. So, Ron, you're welcome here anytime, and we'll be back with more Newsmakers right after this.